I was scrolling through social media the other night, and I landed on this video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a woman was staring right into the camera, and the text on the screen read, 5 signs you're dating a narcissist.
I think I've seen 1,000 of those.
You and me both. And I was curious, so I watched. The signs were, well, things like they disagree with you in public.
Okay.
They talk about their own accomplishments. They get defensive in an argument. Sometimes they make the conversation about themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't always apologize the way you want them to.
So basically human behavior. Things pretty much everyone does at some point.
Exactly. That's what struck me. These aren't great behaviors, but they're so common. It's just insecurity, maybe selfishness, just garden variety jerk behavior. But the comments, thousands. Oh my God, this is my ex, this is my boss, this is my mother. Just this huge wave of validation, this collective aha moment.
It's an easy answer, isn't it? It gives you a name for the monster in the room.
Right. But it struck me how fast, how easily we reach for that one single word. It's like a psychological sledgehammer. We use it to win the breakup, to cast the villain.
But what if that label, the one that feels so good and so right in the moment?
What if it's actually a blindfold? What if by looking for that one specific monster, we're completely missing the other, far more dangerous things hiding in plain sight?
It is an incredibly potent blindfold. And, it's easy to see why we reach for it.
Of course. It's validating.
It gives us a sense of control when things feel chaotic. But it flattens a really complex, painful reality into a catchy insult.
So for this deep dive, our mission is to move past that.
Exactly. We need to stop using narcissist as this lazy shortcut and really start to understand the underlying mechanics of what makes a personality truly destructive.
What separates just a difficult person from someone who is genuinely dangerous.
That's the key.
And let's just talk about the scale of this for a second. This isn't some niche interest, it's everywhere. Searches for narcissism are up over 150% in the last decade.
Wow.
And gaslighting. That was Merriam-Webster's word of the year. Lookups for it spiked by over 1,700%.
That's incredible. It really signals a societal hunger for clarity, for self-protection.
But the casual way we throw these terms around...
That's the problem. It turns a clinical concept into an oversimplification tool. And that does real damage. I'm thinking of this one situation, a woman whose long-term relationship had just ended.
Okay.
And immediately, her friends, things she saw online, told her he was a classic narcissist.
Yep.
For her, it just didn't quite land. She knew he was flawed, maybe avoidant, but she didn't see him as purely malicious.
So she had this complex real-life experience, and the label that was supposed to empower her just confused things.
It totally stalled her healing. It forced her very real, nuanced relationship problems, communication breakdowns, different attachment styles, into this simple little box.
Victim and abuser, black and white.
Exactly. She got a scapegoat instead of a path to understanding what actually went wrong. And that stops her from learning how to build healthier relationships later because she's just trying to fit this square peg into a narcissist hole.
And there's another danger there, isn't there? When pop psychology pushes external blame so hard, the idea of victimhood can sometimes overshadow accountability.
It can.
Yeah.
It absolutely can. When the language is misused, it can encourage this perpetual state of victimhood, lets you think it's always the other person's fault.
And you miss your own role in the dynamic.
And critically, you have to remember that projection is a huge risk here. Ironically, sometimes the people yelling narcissist the loudest are projecting their own issues.
Oh, that's a twist.
And even worse, a truly narcissistic person will often weaponize the term themselves. They'll call their victims narcissists to muddy the waters and discredit them.
Okay, so let's break this down. If just being selfish or insecure isn't it, what is the actual core clinical difference? What's the real litmus test we should be looking for?
The litmus test really comes down to two cornerstones of human decency, really. Empathy and remorse.
Empathy and remorse.
Their absence. That's the shared deficit. That is the common thread in every truly destructive personality, whether we call them narcissistic, psychopathic, or something else.
So without them, there are no internal checks on bad behavior.
None. The relationship becomes manipulative and unsafe.
Let's start with remorse. You describe it as an internal alarm system.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's the emotional discomfort, the regret, that moral guardrail that tells you, I did wrong and I regret causing that pain.
And that's what makes you apologize sincerely and try not to do it again.
Right. Without that internal regulator, there is literally nothing stopping a destructive person from repeating the same harmful behavior over and over as long as it gets them what they want.
Okay, and what about empathy? We hear that word all the time, but what's the clinical definition here?
Clinically, empathy is the ability to step outside of yourself and recognize another person's feelings as real and valid.
Even if you don't agree with them.
Even if you don't agree, it's the glue of human connection. Without it, people stop being people. They become objects, tools to be used, obstacles to be removed, or just background noise.
And this is where the nuance comes in, because empathy isn't just, it's not an on or off switch, is it?
Not at all.
No.
It's a spectrum, and experts break it down into different types, which is so crucial for understanding this. First, you have cognitive empathy.
The logical kind.
Yes. Intellectually understanding what someone feels. It's like solving a puzzle, but you don't feel it yourself.
Okay.
Then there's affective or emotional empathy. That's the instinctive part. You actually share or feel what they're feeling. You resonate with their pain.
And a third
is compassionate empathy. And that's when the understanding and the feeling translate into selfless action, a desire to help.
You know, laying it out like that,
Yeah.
it suddenly brings this one anecdote into perfect focus for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this successful, charming man, he forgot his wedding anniversary and went on a trip with his friends instead. His wife was, completely devastated.
As you would be.
Of course. And when he was asked about it, he wasn't defensive. He just seemed blank, genuinely puzzled. He said, "But I told her I needed a break. It was just a weekend. I don't see what the big deal is."
And that is the perfect illustration of the empathy gap.
It's chilling.
That man, he likely has high cognitive empathy.
Yeah.
He knows from social cues that missing an anniversary should cause pain.
But he can't feel it.
He lacks the affective empathy. He wasn't refusing to understand her pain. He truly could not compute it. The sting of her abandonment it didn't register in his own emotional world.
So he seems reasonable on the surface, but he's causing devastation because of this void.
Precisely. And that changes everything. You're no longer dealing with conflict resolution. You're dealing with an unbridgeable empathy gap. People with antisocial personality disorder, for example, they can be masters of cognitive empathy.
They can read people.
Brilliantly.
Yeah.
But they use that understanding strategically for manipulation because the emotional and compassionate parts are missing.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. If that lack of empathy and remorse is the tie that binds, let's look at who else is in this dangerous category. It's not just the stereotypical loud narcissist.
Not at all. You have to look at the whole spectrum of cluster B personality disorders and other destructive styles. They all share that fatal flaw, but their central motive is different. And that's key.
Okay, so let's walk through those cluster B differences because that helps distinguish the behaviors.
For sure. So with narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, the driving force is a need for admiration, for status. Their goal in a conflict is to win, to prove they're superior.
Then you have borderline personality disorder, BPD.
Right. And their engine is a crippling fear of abandonment. That leads to this intense emotional volatility.
Yeah.
They might idealize you one minute and devalue you the next. The motive isn't about admiration. It's about reassurance, about not being left.
So the NPD person wants to be better than you, and the BPD person wants to keep you from leaving. What about the colder types?
That brings us to antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, sociopathy. They're defined by exploitation and deceit, a total lack of guilt.
They're transactional.
Completely. They use people for money, for fun, whatever, and then discard them without a second thought. And finally, there's histrionic personality disorder, HPD. They thrive on drama and attention. The theatrics will just keep going, even if it hurts someone, as long as they're the center of the universe.
So NPD wants admiration, BPD wants security, ASPD wants resources, and HPD wants attention.
You've got it. It's a useful shorthand.
And then beyond the official diagnoses, you have the traits in the dark triad.
Yes, exactly. This broadens the view. You've got Machiavellianism, which is just cold, strategic manipulation, seeing people as chess pieces.
And psychopathy.
Which is marked by that calculated charm, fearlessness, and again, a total lack of empathy and remorse.
Yeah.
The psychopathic individual will lie so smoothly, not out of panic, but because it's just the easiest way to get what they want.
And these aren't just abstract ideas. These are measurable traits.
Absolutely. Clinical tools like the hair psychopathy checklist, the PCLR, they score specific items like lack of remorse or guilt and callous lack of empathy. It's about the pattern.
The pattern of rigid reactions, all or nothing thinking, and always blaming outward. That's what some call a high conflict personality.
Yes, and that pattern is estimated to be present in about 10% of people.
Who generate 90% of the conflict.
It's an incredible statistic, but it tracks. They are defined by that pattern of intense, rigid, outwardly directed blame. They just cannot self-reflect.
Okay, so what does all this clarity actually let us do? If we finally accept that logic and emotional appeals don't work with this personality structure,
Because the wiring isn't there.
how do we protect ourselves when no contact isn't an option, like with a co-parent or a colleague?
The game changes completely. You have to stop trying to change them. Stop trying to get them to understand you. It won't happen.
So you focus all your energy inward.
All of it. You adjust your communication and your boundaries to protect your own peace of mind. That is the path to achieving what we call responsibility without effective blame.
That sounds incredibly difficult. Maintaining that level of detachment when you're being hurt.
It requires immense discipline, so you need concrete strategies. The best known is probably the gray rock method.
Making yourself as boring as a gray rock.
Exactly. You become uninteresting, unresponsive. You cut off their supply of reaction. That means short, non-committal answers, brief interactions, zero emotion. You just blend into the background.
I can see that working, but I can also imagine it making them escalate at first.
Right. It can,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They might push harder when their usual hooks aren't working. Consistency is everything. Think about Leo, who had this validation vampire of a colleague.
Constantly needed reassurance, draining his energy.
Totally. So Leo went gray rock. He only engaged in brief, objective, work-related talk. And crucially, he used a physical boundary. He wore headphones.
He made himself unavailable.
And the colleague, no longer getting his fix, just drifted away to find a reaction somewhere else.
That's real empowerment through quiet consistency. What other tools do we have?
Two great ones for unavoidable conflict are the BIFF response and EAR statements. BIFF is for writing emails, texts.
And it stands for?
Brief, informative, friendly, and firm.
So give me an example. Someone sends you a long, angry, accusing email.
Your BIF reply would be something like, "Thanks for sharing your thoughts." Friendly. Regarding the schedule, the meeting is Tuesday at 2 p.m. in room B. Informative. Please confirm you've received this. Brief and firm.
You don't engage with any of the accusations.
None. You just stick to the necessary facts.
And EAR statements, how do they work in person?
EAR statements lower defensiveness. You show empathy, attention, and respect without agreeing with them or giving up ground.
So someone's attacking you.
Instead of arguing back, you say something like, "That sounds incredibly frustrating for you." Empathy. "I hear what you're saying." Attention. "And I respect you for bringing this to my attention." Respect.
You validate their feeling, not their twisted version of the facts.
And it often short-circuits their need to escalate.
Which brings us back to that ultimate goal,
Yeah.
maintaining that internal state, that responsibility without blame. How do clinicians do it?
It's the core psychological goal.
Yeah.
You hold them responsible, their behavior is harmful, and it's a choice, but you consciously avoid effective blame.
The hate, the anger, the resentment that eats you up inside.
All of it. Clinicians cultivate this by looking at a person's whole history, the dysfunctional families, the trauma, recognizing that a person who harms is often also a person who has been harmed. It's a powerful antidote to that corrosive internal blame. It lets you set boundaries without sacrificing your own inner peace.
This has been such a powerful deep dive. We started with the word narcissist being this quick but really inadequate shortcut. But true protection doesn't come from a label. It comes from understanding the core pathology, that consistent absence of empathy and remorse, which applies to a much wider and frankly more dangerous landscape of personalities.
That's right. Clarity, not labeling, is your most powerful tool. Education lets you see the patterns. It allows you to respond with objective, dispassionate self-preservation instead of getting emotionally hooked into that endless cycle of conflict.
So the most effective form of empowerment isn't winning an argument or finally getting them to see the light. It's not about successfully labeling the villain. It is the quiet, consistent enforcement of boundaries that protects your peace of mind and your energy, making you unavailable to those who feed on your reaction.